You thought you were safe in your relationship, but did you ever stop to think that food could be a weapon against you? In this video, we're going to show you the 5 cunning ways narcissists use food against their victim. It's no secret that toxic relationships can have an adverse effect on your health and well-being. It's especially true if your partner is actually a narcissist. But what exactly is a narcissist? The word narcissist is often used to describe people who are self-centered and lack empathy. But it's important to recognize that narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, is an actual mental health condition. And it's a disorder that can present significant challenges for those affected, as well as the people around them. It can also strain their relationships with others. That being said, some individuals may display narcissistic traits without an official NPD diagnosis. Those traits can include constantly seeking praise and admiration, an exaggerated sense of self-importance, exploiting others without shame or feeling guilty about it, creating an imaginary world to boost their ego, feeling entitled, disregarding the needs of others, dominating conversations or meetings, and engaging in demeaning or bullying behavior. To make things more complicated, people with narcissistic tendencies are often extra sensitive to getting feedback. They may react with anger, for example, when confronted or when they feel ignored or dismissed. But what most people don't know is that these so-called narcissists can also use food to manipulate their victims. Often, they do it to their lovers. So, if you believe you're with a narcissistic partner, make sure to keep watching this video. You'll discover the 5 sneaky ways narcissists use food as a weapon against you. And if everything checks out, you need to really think about whether staying with them is worth it or not. Let's find out what those ways are, starting with number 1. They nitpick your table manners. A narcissist just loves to attack your self-esteem by constantly criticizing your table manners. They go all out in scrutinizing every little detail, from how you hold your utensils to how quickly you eat, and even the sounds you make while enjoying a meal. It's like they never miss a chance to nitpick, providing a relentless barrage of comments that'll leave you feeling on edge. This turns what should be a relaxing time for you into a stressful experience, especially when you're out in public or with others. And you know what? They do all this to make you hyper-aware of your actions. See, they have a way of making you feel like you're constantly under a microscope, with every bite and sip being analyzed and judged. It's exhausting and disheartening, as it feels like you can never measure up to their impossible standards. Ultimately, their goal is to control your behavior. By breaking down your confidence and making you doubt yourself, they aim to make you rely on their approval for everything. They want you to second-guess your every action, seeking their validation and permission before making even the simplest decisions. It's a power play, and they thrive on exerting control over others. And that's not the only thing they criticize. Number 2. They incessantly critique your physique, weight, or eating habits. Sometimes, you might feel like you have no control over your weight, physique, or diet. And the relentless influence of narcissists can make these feelings a lot worse. They can even make you believe that all the flaws you see are your fault. But here's the thing. Those thoughts are not true. Remember, narcissists are masters at messing with your self-image and self-esteem. They want you to feel self-conscious and judgmental of yourself, while always seeking their approval. And guess what? They have all sorts of tricks up their sleeves to achieve this. One of the most common is making comments such as, "Do you really need to eat that?" Or, "That doesn't seem healthy." Innocent remarks, right? Wrong. These seemingly harmless words can be incredibly damaging to you. And they can make you tie your worth to what you eat. You know what's even worse? Narcissists have a knack for criticizing you directly, comparing you to others, or making those sly, passive-aggressive remarks. It's like they've got a PhD in making you feel terrible about yourself. To the point that even simple things like going out to eat with friends or joining social gatherings can become anxiety-inducing for you. Frankly, their constant criticism can really mess with your mental health. It's like they're making you enter a never-ending cycle of anxiety and stress, especially when it comes to food. So why do they do this? Well, it all boils down to their need for control. They want to exploit your insecurities about your appearance and eating habits. So, they prevent you from making any improvement in your health to keep you under their thumbs. Because of this, it's like they're constantly hijacking your thoughts and emotions, making you feel more and more insecure. And they know that the more insecure you feel, the tighter their grip becomes. By the way, make sure to subscribe if you've learned something new today. Number 3. They act like they're concerned about you, but what they really want is to control you. One way narcissists try to control others is by disguising their demands, making them look like genuine concerns for you. For example, they might act like they're worried about your health and use that as an excuse to dictate your dietary choices. They'll say things like, "I'm just looking out for you." But at the same time, they'll criticize what you eat or how much food you have on your plate. This is because they basically want to control what you eat, when you eat it, and how much you eat. To visualize their behavior better, here's an example. There's this guy who takes away most of his girlfriend's food right before they're about to eat. While doing so, he actually says it's because he wants her to lose weight. That's disrespectful, right? And here's the crazy part. She actually lets him keep doing it. Why? It's because she genuinely believes that he's doing it out of love for her. But let's be real, that couldn't be further from the truth. See how this kind of manipulation is just so sneaky? It's exercising control by pretending to care. And you know what's even worse? When this keeps happening over time, it starts chipping away at her confidence in making decisions about her own eating habits. It can even mess up her relationship with food. And it might even lead her to develop an eating disorder down the road. Now, let's dig a little deeper into how this kind of manipulation can really mess with you psychologically. When someone keeps questioning and controlling what you eat, it doesn't just mess with your physical health, but also messes with your mental and emotional well-being. The constant criticism and restrictions can make you feel guilty, ashamed, and full of self-doubt, for instance. And here's the thing. The effects of this manipulative behavior don't just stop at food. They spill over into other parts of your life too, like your ability to make decisions and your self-esteem. You may start hesitating to make choices on your own, always looking for approval or validation from the narcissist. And that kind of dependence can really stunt your personal growth and development. Number 4. They make decisions about your food to the point that they won't hesitate to fight you over it. Controlling access to food or starting conflicts during mealtimes is a manipulative tactic used by narcissists. They aim to weaken you physically and mentally by depriving you of nourishment, making it easier for them to manipulate and control you. We can see similar tactics in cults, where extreme starvation and sleep deprivation are used to break people's will and gain dominance over them. The narcissist uses this strategy to establish power dynamics, turning something as basic as eating into a battleground and food into a weapon. It's truly disturbing how they can twist something so fundamental into a tool for control. But how do they actually do it? Sometimes the narcissist can control your access to food, dictate when you eat, or intentionally start conflicts during mealtime. Yep, they might even pick a fight just as you're about to sit down for dinner. It's important to always remember that food isn't just something we want. It's a basic need for our survival. And when our brain senses a potential threat of going hungry, it can trigger intense coping mechanisms. This might include behaviors like fawning, where we comply with the narcissist's wishes and do whatever they want us to do. On top of that, we might also experience somatic dissociation, where our awareness of bodily sensations like hunger and pain decreases. This can make it easier for the narcissist to manipulate our food intake and make us more dependent on them. All these just really show how much our psychological response to food can affect us physically, and that the reverse is true. Number 5. They'll make you feel guilty when you enjoy eating the food you love to eat. Narcissists have this knack for guilt-tripping you about indulging in your favorite food. It's like they can't resist throwing in some derogatory comments or subtle jabs just to let you know how much they disapprove of your food choices. Picture this. You're relishing a scoop of ice cream, savoring every single bite. Suddenly, the narcissist decides to rain on your parade by saying something like, "Ever thought about how many calories are in that? Because I know it's definitely too many." Talk about draining the joy from your life. It's really sad that these people just can't stand to see you happy. They feel this weird urge to ruin every possible occasion. And you know what's even worse? As a victim of their manipulation, you start feeling ashamed of eating and end up giving up the foods you love. In a narcissistic relationship like this, you slowly fade away. It's like piece by piece. You lose yourself. Your preferences, desires, and needs, they all just slip away, leaving you feeling empty inside and out. And if you liked this video, then check out these related videos to see more. and make sure to subscribe and leave a comment saying I subscribed, and we will personally reply to your comment.